This is Kim Lurker, and he supports your dreams. All he asks for in return are your kidneys, and your lungs, and maybe your liver, possibly your heart and eyes too. You know, all those unnecessary body parts that are just taking up space and weighing you down. Kim Lurker is the villain I think of when I hear the word underappreciated, because this man had the impossible task of being our first antagonist in season 2. Even if it was only for a bit, he was the face of the new tower, and from the moment he was introduced, he made it all feel personal. And in this video, we are going to break down what makes Kim Lurker one of the most underappreciated villains in Tower of God, as we continue our journey through Tower of God's most iconic villains. Hi, I am Dennis, and let's find out where Kim Lurker will land in our ultimate villain tier list. See, most villains in Tower of God have big dreams. Reflejo wanted to dismantle the tower's system. Hell Joe wanted power to change his fate. Beta wanted to reclaim his freedom. But Kim Lurker, he doesn't care about destiny or the top of the tower. On the surface, you might think that he just enjoys inflicting pain on others. But I would argue that what he actually wants is just to survive and inflict pain on others. And that's what makes him interesting, because in this world, survival doesn't mean staying alive. It means becoming part of the system that destroys others. Before he became the guy threatening to repossess Wangnan's organs, Lurker was just like any other regular, trying to climb the tower. He probably had dreams and ambitions. He felt the same way as every other regular. The idea that if you just work hard enough, you can make it to the top. But as he soon had to realize, the tower doesn't reward effort, it rewards cruelty. Once he was just like Wangnan and accumulated a lot of debt in order to climb the tower, but he was unable to pass the tests or pay back the money. When he failed the tests of the tower, he racked up debt and begged the company president for his life. They let him live, but only on one condition, that he would work for them as a loan shark. That's how Kim Lurker was born. He became a man who lost everything, including his sense of morality, and replaced it with a singular belief. It's easier to be the bad guy than the good guy. Every evil thing he does, the threats, the manipulation, the exploitation, the murder, it all comes from that belief. He's not doing it just because he's an evil bastard. He's doing it because in his mind, that's how you survive. And I think you can see that in his design too. Lurker's design is deceptive. He has pale grey skin and cold grey eyes. But to contrast that, there's the flower in his hair, which at his introduction is a daisy and later a pink flower, at least in the manhwa. In the anime he's always wearing a pink flower. Anyway, I think that is a fun little detail, as daisies traditionally symbolize innocence and purity. It feels like Kim Lurker wears one ironically, almost mockingly, as if he's fully aware of how far from pure he really is. Anyway, his belief is also why he killed Nia during the untrustworthy room test. Kim Lurker isn't angry at Nia because Nia insulted him. He's angry because Nia tried to be a good person. When Lurker screams, "You see, I hate people like you the most. When you step into this world, you just become a bad guy. Don't try to be a good guy, because this is what happens." What he's really saying is, I tried to be a good person once, but the tower crushed me for it. So now he convinces himself that kindness is a lie, morality is a scam. Anyone claiming to be good is just someone who hasn't been broken yet. Being good threatens his entire worldview. If Nia is good, then Lurker didn't have to become a monster, and that would make everything he has done, all the blood and guilt, his fault. So he kills Nia, not just to silence him, but to prove his worldview is right. So when Wangnan confronted him, he simply said, "This is what the tower is about. You don't need to blame or hate anyone. You just have to keep climbing up. Nothing else matters." And this is the moment where Lurker becomes the perfect antagonist for Wangnan. Before this moment, Wangnan was kind of a joke, a loud, broke regular who failed the tests over and over again. Someone who wanted to climb the tower but had absolutely nothing to prove he could. So, SIU does something brilliant. He gives Wangnan a villain who reflects everything he could have become. Kim Lurker is Wangnan's dark mirror. Both were desperate, both were crushed by debt, both dreamed of climbing the tower. The difference? Lurker gave up on being good, while Wangnan refuses to do so. And that entire confrontation becomes Wangnan's defining moment. When he forgives the man who murdered his friend, he isn't being naive. He is establishing the core of his character. He is someone who refuses to let the tower dictate his character, and he will climb to reform the system. And when Wangnan declares, "I will become the king of the tower. I will change everything in this tower that made you like this. I will ensure that no one else ends up like you or Nia ever again." That's the moment where Wangnan becomes a true protagonist. Kim Lurker is the catalyst that transforms Wangnan from a comedic character into a king in the making. Without this confrontation, without Lurker's worldview crushing down on him, Wangnan never becomes the boy who refuses to break. But when Wangnan forgives him for killing his friend, Lurker explodes. Forgiveness requires a belief that the world could become a better place, and Lurker doesn't believe that anymore. He's furious because Wangnan threatens the fragile worldview he built to survive. Forgive? What are you talking about? Who forgives who? Who are you to forgive me? Just kill me. You don't have the right to forgive me. Nobody in this tower can forgive me. This shows that forgiveness terrifies him more than punishment ever could. Because forgiveness means he could have been better, and that's the one thing he refuses to face. Because if forgiveness is possible, if good people can still exist, if someone like him can be forgiven, then he doesn't get to hide behind the tower anymore. He would have to confront the single devastating truth that Kim Lurker chose to give up. Now, I'm the first to admit that it's kind of hard to see Kim Lurker as an actual threat, as he isn't a fighter. Instead, he lets others do his dirty work for him. He uses others as tools. Need someone to fight? There's Repdevil. Need to intimidate someone? Hire the Da'an tribe as bodyguards. Yes, he himself does have a few tricks up his sleeve. Literally, he hides a device that allows him to manipulate Shinsu there. But once you remove that device, he's a pushover. Kim Lurker doesn't really push the story forward. Instead, he introduces us to Wangnan as the new protagonist in the series. The beginning of season 2 needed to do something incredibly difficult. It had to make us care about the brand new second protagonist. That's where Kim Lurker came in. He doesn't try to overshadow Wangnan. Instead, he does something far more important. He reveals who Wangnan truly is as a character. Kim Lurker is the villain who gave birth to a new hero. However, his strength as a character isn't really his own. His motivation and character growths were barely touched upon in the story, and he more or less solely exists to make Wangnan shine as a protagonist. Which is why I can't give him a spot in the upper tiers, and believe that he deserves a spot somewhere between B and C tier, where I will place him in the C tier for the time being. But do let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, thank you for watching and I hope to see you again. Bye!